Don't confuse silence with work ethic. I'm a boss, making decisions my first fetish. The verse cherished is perfect, that's a reverse blemish. I dropped it, connected the block, learn Tetris.
This is the Sorry It's True podcast. Welcome to the house of. And shout out to the members.
Yo, what's good, y'all? Good morning. It's your boy ARP, and we back here with the Sorry It's True podcast. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday to everybody. Starting off their week and all that. I had a quiet weekend on the channel. Did I get any lives in this weekend? Nah, but we were dropping some content for y'all, some clips, and I got an exclusive coming for y'all too. I'm about to release Rosenberg Raw versus Clone. That went down November 2021, I believe. We vaulted it due to the production of it. It was kind of a turning point on the channel amongst the team behind the scenes as far as the direction that we want to go as far as content on the channel. But I am going to release that maybe tonight, latest probably tomorrow, but keep your eyes on the channel for that. I got some other topics that I want to cover. There's some Diddy stuff I want to jump into ASAP, but I'm behind the curve, man. There's just a lot going on. But I did see Murda Mook on Hip Hop Is Real, I believe it was. He did an interview talking about the back and forth that he has with Hitman, and I'm not here for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm out of that. I want to see that battle happen as a fan. But Mook did make some comments in that interview. You see the title here says, Murda Mook says he's not building any more companies, right? I don't know if y'all see that title or the actual YouTube updated title where I said his 2024 take on building companies is shocking, right? So I'm going to get into all of that. I want to address some of that. Mook and I have this thing behind the scenes where we've spoken about that for years, right? I want to talk about the building of companies. I want to talk about the setup and setting up Murda Mook versus Verb. I want to give the story and the behind the scenes about that. I want to talk about equity. I want to talk about using the battle rappers' likeliness, right? And there's a much bigger point above Murda Mook's recent interview, or even me being here talking about some old stories that I never spoken about and all that type of stuff. There's a bigger value to this video, hopefully, that you get towards the second half of this stream. Much, much, much bigger value of what I'm about to talk about. Okay, so let's walk for a second. Let's talk about the setup of Murda Mook versus Verb. Epic battle, classic battle, a battle that I will forever be appreciative of. I think it's one of the standout pieces of content on the channel. It was groundbreaking. It took over the second half of 2018. That news, that rollout, that battle, the outcome, everything. There's a lot that you know came out of that moment. A lot that went into that moment, right? So how did we even set that battle up? And I'm actually glad I'm addressing this too, because some of this is, I think Verb should listen to some of this too, because I've seen times when me and Verb might have argued in the past, and he said things like, yo, the only reason I got Mook is because math to this person, whatever. Let me just speak on all this right now. This is the story of setting up Murda Mook versus Verb, okay? So everybody knows, or some of you guys know, RBE was established and created in 2013. Our first card was called New Year Order, and it was the first weekend, the first card of 2014, January, the very first Saturday. And from there, you know, history was made. We went on, we bust our ass, and we created lanes for ourselves. We birthed the concept of blood, sweat, and tears, which gave us our original identity. And then we just kept building and building and building. You guys know our motto, brick by brick. Fast forward, 4 years later, we get to 2018. Now, we have gone through this blood, sweat, and tears identity. We've gone through booking some significant matchups. And I've always said, I've always maintained this. Nobody knows RBE more than me. There's not a person on this earth that knows RBE more than me. I'm not the league owner that only knows about this stuff over here. I'm not the league owner that doesn't know anything about the contracts over there. I'm not the league owner that didn't set up the battle over. I'm not that league owner. My hands is in everything. And many pieces over the years when it comes to RBE. Not only is my hands in it, I'm actually the center of it. I'm actually the one on the phone doing the work, being right next to the editing, being a part of the releases, running the channel, doing the phone calls, doing the business, doing the contract, everything, right? For a portion of the time, I was even the person doing all the travel for years. I was the person setting up all the flights, all the hotels myself, me. All right, the owner, years in, and I'm doing battle edits. I'm doing negotiations, contracts. I'm the one that set up the flights, the hotels, everything, soup to nuts, ARP. Okay, of course I had help. Shout out to my brother Shata. Shout out to Lawrence. Wing came on a little bit later on. Ant came in a little bit later on. You know what I'm saying? But everything, my hands was bleeding. You know what I'm saying? From being in the fucking mix. And I will forever say one of the biggest turning points as far as the fans' expectation of RBE and how the fans viewed RBE after our identity. Identity is one thing. Business being pushed up further through the roof is a totally different conversation. Identity was blood, sweat, and tears and themed cards, right? Movie trailers and all that type of shit. We just look different. Our matchup style, everything. Like these guys are different. We got to Pearly Gates. I referenced this over the years so many times. Rest in peace, Tech9. How many times have I said this for the people that really, really know my interviews and my blogs over the years? Rest in peace, Tech9. I said, I'll never forget him on Champion. You know, we announced the Big K versus Old Red, the JC versus Ill Mac, and Daylight versus Ill Will, all on one card, right? Tech9's on Champion. He's like, ARP, where did this come from? Would you hit the lottery? This looks like Summer Madness. Those are on the that statement that I just said, that's on the Champion channel. Shout out to Jay Black and Champion. That was like a narrative and a turning point of fans saying, wait. Blood, sweat, and tears is in the mismatching of the matchups and all this, and growing up, some of these guys' profiles that you rock with the oopses and the show-offs and the Adi Booms and the gyms and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's cool. But ARP, we didn't know that you could give us this. We want some more of that. You know what I'm saying? It's like feeding the family in the crib fucking vegetables to be healthy, quality. Stay with me. Vegetables. And then out of nowhere, you come out with like, you know, the steaks and the hamburgers and shit. And they just like, wait a minute, I want that on the plate going forward. Like you had that in a freezer downstairs this whole time. I didn't know you had a grill out back. That's what Pearly Gates Part 1 did. Nobody knows RBE more than me. Watching the numbers, watching the narratives, watching the energy, watching the subscribers, the analytics, watching the views. Nobody knows that shit but me. Okay? So, after that jump was made. I have literally interviews on, I believe, 15 Minutes of Fame. I'm standing outside. I remember my shit like fucking, I'm an elephant with this. I got an interview standing outside of Club Drum wearing a white and a navy blue Armani jacket. I remember that too. And I'm giving it, and there was times where I'm like arguing with the fans in interviews, telling them like, I know we dipped back and we did validation, our small room series, # small room, right? But guys, everything can't be Pearly Gates. Let us give you this shit too. We want to be able to spin a block and give you a Verb versus a Bonnie in a small room. The first time he battles a female, everybody wants to see that. Or a JC versus a Craig Lamar, classic. We want to be able to do those. Like give us the space to do that. No. We didn't know you were sitting on some money. You had steak in the freezer downstairs. Pearly Gates Part 2, Summer Madness and all that shit. That's what we need. Give it to us. Like, our business changes. The expectation changes. Our identity evolves and raises. Our profile raises. This is all part of moving a company within a demographic and a fan base. 4 years after we did our first event, right? No, I'm sorry. 8 years after we did our first event. I said 4 because I was talking about 4 years in Pearly Gates after that. But no, 8 years in total. We get to, I'm fucking up my math. Anyway, we get to 2018. Right? We announced the return of Murda Mook. Crashed the internet. People didn't believe it. They were questioning, was it real? Were we trolling? Which is what made me put in his contract, and you got to show up to the Aver versus Pat Stay battle and take the stage and come out with me. Is it a one-rounder? Is it this? Is it that? Huge move for RBE. What made us make that move? Here's literally how it went. After the success and the new subscribers and the viewership and the narratives and the expectation of Pearly Gates, part one, right? Got Big K and Old Red in the running for champion of the year. Old Red goes on to win that. That match had the focal point on our matchup on Pearly Gates part. All this type of shit. Il Mac is saying narratives like, I'm battling JC right now to stop his run versus Loaded Lux. Ill Will versus Daylight was like, oh my God, like that. You had to be there. You had to be there to understand what I'm talking about. So we get to this point where RBE as a staff, primarily myself, Shata, and Lawrence, we're talking about budget. It's time to move up along with fan reputation, expectation, and also our capabilities. I said this years ago as well. I could have booked a max out in 2014. We always were able to afford it. We just were doing what we felt was good for us, the company, and our maneuvering through the industry. When we saw what we saw, we said, okay, let's spend some more money. We got to those periods where we said, we got to try this or raise this or come back down to do this. You can see it in our history, but keep following me. So we're saying it's time to spend some more money. It's time to create our biggest budgeted battle rap event ever. Okay. There were 3 targets on the table for that. Loaded Lux, Murda Mook, and Tsu Surf. I don't remember getting too far in negotiations with Lux's manager. Right. Shout out to Assist. I don't think that went too far, right? Tsu Surf. Tsu Surf was a guy that I always spoke to directly. Okay. Tsu Surf and myself have had many negotiations. This particular negotiation, it was around the time where he came back home and he was offering me two different deals. One was a 2-on-2 with Rock. I'm not saying that Rock was, don't everybody go run. Oh, Rock, you tried to get on RBE. I don't know if Rock was aware, involved. I don't know. I never spoke to Rock. Okay. Let me save Rock. Okay. But what Surf brought to me, and this is also him seeing the team versus team starting 5 event, came to me. He said, matter of fact, he had 3 different proposals. And this is all documented, right? This is conversation, end on text messages. This is documented, people. Don't fucking question me. And I'm not putting nobody down. I'm leading into all this Murda Mook shit. And I'm feeding y'all a story that I never gave y'all before, okay? I'm not dissing, I'm putting nobody down. This is just the history of shit, okay? So one of them was, he said, I got my 5, right? It was going to be him, Rock. I know he had a lady there, a girl battler. I don't know if it was Prestavia. I forget. But he said I could bring 5 with me. Rock is one of them. And this is also after the 2-on-2 that they did on URL versus NWX. And everybody was just like, those two are epic, right? Those two together, Rock and Surf. Another one was the 2-on-2. That was like the mid-range price. The top price was like him on his own. And it made sense because I think it was around the time when he had just came home or something like that, right? Back on the RBE side, we're kind of like navigating this a little bit, and we're coming up with different ideas. And was this negotiation lining up the right way? Was it not? Because the key here, when I mentioned Lux, Mook, and Surf, y'all, the key here is what a league owner goes through. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. You guys are hearing Holla talk about all the matchups that didn't end up on Power Moves right now, right? You're hearing about Twerk and Cassidy. You're hearing about Cassidy and Rex. You're hearing about Av versus this person. As a league owner, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. And you also, it's part the same way battlers want to see what they could get. Hey, let me take this contract and go over here and then see if I can, like Surf has these interviews, right? He's admitted to it. Same league owners do it too. Let me talk to this person. Let me talk to that person. Let me see where I end up. Let me see what works the best for the company too. Both sides do that shit. It's well within your rights. You should. So I also behind the scenes remember having conversations with Shata where I was saying, I'm not sure how much we want to trust working with Surf right now. Right? He's got stuff going on and the conversations is at the timing sometimes. I'm not sure about that. Even Piper Boy, I think, has that on his channel. When me and Piper Boy was going back and forth, I told this to Piper Boy. He asked me about Surf behind the scenes, and I told him, I said, I'm not sure if I could really trust Surf. And when me and Piper Boy got into that, he said that publicly as if he was exposing me. Like, ARP, didn't you say you don't want to work with Surf because you don't trust him? Yeah, I did say that. Yeah. So all this shit is so documented, people. It's so documented. It just takes me to glue it all together. Trust me. I start DMing Murda Mook now of the 3 people, right? I DM'd him like 3 or 4 times. By the time I got to the 4th DM, I think I put something in there with a catch, like a hook, like, money you can't turn down, right? I knew what we was on. I knew the type of money we was trying to spend. It's like money you can't turn down. His Harlem ass sees that and he replies to me. He says, what do you consider money I can't turn down? I said the number. I knew it was way ahead of the numbers that we used to hear about around when he battled Iron Solomon. I knew it was way ahead of that, right? Money you can't turn down. The type of money we don't be hearing about in battle rap. We don't hear about this type of shit, right? So he calls me immediately. Boom, try to line himself up with it and everything like that. And then he brings in his manager, Van. Shout out to my nigga Van. He brings in Van. So now I'm talking to Van. Eventually, Mook goes out of the conversation, and now it's me and Van, right? Fast forward, we put the deal together. I liked the way that business felt at the time. I liked the return of Murda Mook for almost 5 years to battle rap. I liked the fact that it was one of those shocks and surprises. Let me veer off real quick when it comes to shocks and surprises. These are the ideas of RBE consistently. If y'all saw my interview the other day with John, he talked about him bringing back Cassidy, right? And he kind of alluded to it, like, pulling like you've done this before, ARP. What he's alluding to is the history of RBE going away from the expectations and gambling, right? So nobody's talking about Murda Mook. Like, we saw him versus Iron Solomon, then we saw him on Total Slaughter, and then we didn't see him after that, right? I've had the conversations with him as to why. I'll leave that alone, right? I'll leave that alone. And there's actually pieces of it in freestyles and in some of his interviews. I'll leave that alone, okay? So leave that for another conversation, y'all, okay? When you say, I want Murda Mook because he's been away for 5 years, what are you doing? Are you going status quo? When you say, the last time y'all saw King Los, he was wearing a hat that was 3 times his size and he was drowning in his clothes. What is it when we say, hey, remember the Fight Club days, 40 Cal? Here he is versus Ill Will. How about the last time y'all saw Jay Mills was in the park? Here we go, 2019, Jay Mills. RBE, like, we are very, very known for doing that. Very known for doing that. You haven't seen this in a while? That's when we want it. Nobody's doing this. That's when we want to do it, right? These are all some of the reasons why we wanted to go towards the Murda Mook direction, despite some of these other negotiations and opportunities that we may or may not have had. Things were lining up with what we wanted to do. And shout out to Murda Mook and Van for being able to negotiate that business side of things with us as well. It takes both sides to make it work. Battle happens. It's epic. Gives us a 25-minute long 3rd round. Appreciative for that to this day. Dope, right? When you make those type of investments as a company and those type of moves as a company, they're not coincidence. They're not coincidence. Let alone that battle happens in 2018. The company is birthed in 2013, right? I have to be somebody. I have to have a platform. I have to build up a reputation. I have to build up energy. I have to have the financing. I have to have the channel. I have to have the fan base, the subscription, the buzz, all these things for, I would assume, a Murda Mook, a Loaded Lux, a Hitman Holla, a Hollow to Don, all these people, for them to even want to entertain. Why even open my DM? Why? And Murda Mook knew me before I booked them, but like, there's all these things brick by brick that are in place to put this together, to finance it, to coordinate it, to have that business go so perfect. It's me. It's my experience. It's what I've built. It's my reputation. It's my idea. It's my timing. All of this shit plays a part. All of this shit. The whole like contracting and the business that's in the it's all me. It's all custom to me. The time, everything is custom to me. Okay. Now, after that battle, Murda Mook, credit to him. This is not a shot. This is actually an appreciation and respect. None of these are shots. This is all appreciation and respect and giving the fans backstory. And still, like I said, there's going to be a bigger point later on. After Verb and Murda Mook was over, Murda Mook approached me personally and brought me a business deal. Well, not a full deal that was sculpted, but a business idea of him either owning into RBE or partnering into RBE, right? I saw some of the pros in it of, okay, I just watched his battle versus Verb. I seen the people that he was able to get to, post it on their social media and promote it. And this views is crazy. His return was crazy, So I bring it to Shata. Me and Shata's having the conversation for a couple days. Do we want to bring Murda Mook in, what he just brought to us, as a partner or co-owner to RBE? One thing that Shata and myself were very, very keen on, had a lot of respect for Murda Mook's draw, a lot of respect for his power, a lot of respect for that moment that we all came together and created. And he was the epitome of it. He was the center of it. It's Murda Mook's return after 5 years. This is why it blew up, right? Not taking that away from nothing. But one thing that we were keen on to decide upon when he offered us that was that a lightning in the bottle moment, right? Because once a return is done, after that, things are normally not the same. This is why a lot of battlers try to craft their career with not oversaturating, like a Hitman Holla. He's spoken about this, right? Of not battling too frequently, being more selective, knowing that when I come out, Murda Mook has interviews talking about this on Hot 97 as well. He says, like, when I come out, I want it to be something different. That last thing that I did that because it was total slaughter. It was different. You know what I'm saying? Like, I move very, very similar. It's in my history, right? But you got to think about it. So it's just like, you got to be careful. The lightning in a bottle there, can it be replicated? Can I go from max out 1 to max out 2? Do I believe that max out 1 is only because the face off? Well, let's prove it. Hey, Hitman, let's do max out 2. Numbers for that were beautiful. Proved it now. So when we have these lightning in a bottle, like, I always negotiate away from that and against that. Yeah, you did it when you were gone for 5 years. Show me now. Oh, yeah, you did 1 million views when it was free on caffeine. Show me what it does when it costs $50. It's my job. I'm a fucking idiot to negotiate and to question those things, right? To not just jump out of my body and say, oh, get the fuck out of here. And none of these niggas make me hype over nothing. I come to the table and think out everything. If it works for me at the moment and I believe in it, I move. If I don't, I stand still. I don't give a fuck who you are. Millionaires, I move same way with them. How many times Doppo done called me and fucking Dop the guy, offered me to come in with him on a project? He's a millionaire. I'm like, nah, not that one. And started a club out in Chicago. RBE Ant. Right? Started a club out in Chicago. And, yo, you want to come? I'm going to chill on that. People put $1 million shit at my fucking feet all the time. You know what I'm saying? You think it out. And if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But we declined. And since then, Murda Mook and I have been on the phone and had like a lot of funny, sarcastic debates about who's done more for the other person, right? And I always thought it was like an ego debate, between me and Mook. You know what I'm saying? I always thought it was an ego debate, funny. But now when I see him in interviews talking about his likeliness and I'm not building up any more companies, that's why I was just like, all right, Mook, you know what? I'm gonna put this story out for the RBE fan base and for the RBE channel. Okay. So Murda Mook was a significant piece of that huge moment. But who did more for who? I, that's a debate that really is more fun when it's just me and Mook behind the scenes, right? Like I don't want to get into the hollow contract. I don't want to get into you then rapping on stage on caffeine saying that you got paid for 3, but you only rapped once. I don't want to get into the red light and the emergency light of book mook. When I was setting up you versus Hollow, and then Hollow puts out that contract of people giving away $25,000. I don't need to get into none of that, right? It's the same reason why the Cassidy battle didn't happen. Okay, it's the same reason why K-Shine is saying certain things that he said in his live. None of this shit is coincidence. It happened like 4 or 5 times right in front of y'all. Okay, so as far as who did more for who the fuck really cares? And I still haven't gotten to my bigger point yet. I really still haven't, but I'm going to start to now. Likeliness. So when Murda Mook says I'm not building up any more companies, and once again, me and him then had a debate about who did more for who in 2018. So I know when he says that he's somebody that is coming my direction. I also heard him talk about, he's the one that sold the Smack DVDs. I'm not mad at anybody's opinion. Shout out to Mook. You know what I'm saying? But as far as your likeliness, this is why I say in 2024, Mook, your position on this is shocking to me. Only because of some of the moves that I've seen you make since, as far as likeliness and as far as ownership, right? And this really moves to all battle rappers. I'm starting to get into my bigger point now. Let's talk about likeliness for a second. Now, let me make this bigger. Here I am. I know y'all can see my screen. Here I am on YouTube, and I want to type in 15 minutes of fame, Murda Mook. All right, let's see what I start to see. Part 1, Murda Mook breaks down in very powerful interview. God humbled me. So this must be the interview after the police situation. So everybody's waiting to hear from him again. He came outside on 15 minutes of fame. 64,000 views. Look at this one right here. Murda Mook speaks out on altercation with Briz Rothstein. 553,000 views. So it seems like either you're linking up with 15 minutes of fame or they're linking up with you when you have these come back outside controversial moments. This is what I scream on Holla about. Every time Holla needs to address something and he goes to spaces, he'll tell you, I'll be mad at him like, why are you going to spaces? You have a Bags and Bodies YouTube channel. You have ownership there. You're monetized there. Go there. You'll pay yourself going forward for the future. You will be generating something that we call equity that I'm going to get more into, right? And you'll be owning the content. You'll be owning the likeliness, right? These are big moments for one of the biggest battle rappers in hip hop history. And some of your most vulnerable and keyed on moments from the fans, you're going to 15 minutes of fame, right? This video right here, 553,000. You know how many battle rappers will never do a 500,000 views for their battles? This is a 40-minute interview. That means that this interview right here, a video that's 40 minutes that was probably very, very highly sought after, the altercation on stage with Briz, the fight and all that, and 15 minutes of fame, who also has a pretty significant platform. This video right here could have already made them $10,000 to $15,000. I seen people talking about Gerald McCoy's 20. Like, I ain't getting no money off of that. This video right here could have possibly generated close to, depending on the ad rate and the pace of this video and how well it did when it first dropped and all that type of stuff and how much of the algorithms it cost, this could have done close to the Gerald McCoy money that everybody's talking about, that I see Mook talk about as well, right? If I continue, you know what? Let me, I'm tripping. Let me filter on view count. 15 minutes of fame, 553. Dice game between Murda Mook and Cassidy, 391. T-Top speaks, Rex. Murda Mook versus Reed Dollars, 212. We're over 1 million views here in like 4 joints. Murda Mook apologizes to Smack, 169, 170. Briz content, Murda Mook and Ace, 90 grand right there. I'm pretty sure it's similar on Hip Hop Is Real too. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. View count. 200,000 views. Murda Mook recaps his battle, 18 minutes. People are making salaries, year-long salaries, or year-round salaries that certain people make from your likeliness in just media, right? And when I talk about ownership, and when I say like, yo, Holla, get off of Spaces and go to your channel. When I say Murda Mook, these big interviews and moments where people are looking for you, you went to Hip Hop Is Real or 15 Minutes of Fame, or they've used your likeliness. And other bloggers have used that content to then create their own content. I'm doing it right now to a degree, if you really want to make the point. So what really, really kills me is the ownership, right? And the equity. What is equity, people? Like if we speak like in real estate, I buy a house, the mortgage costs me, you know what? I'll flatten it out. I'll do it 0 profit per month. The mortgage costs me $1,500 a month. Let's just say everything. And I rent it out and I got some tenants in there, and every month that I'm charging them rent, $1,500, right? What am I getting out of that then? If the mortgage that I got to send to the bank every month costs $1,500, which is covering interest, principal, and 9 times out of 10 insurance, unless you're paying that separately, right? And my tenants are giving me $1,500 a month, right? That's canceling out, right? I send 15 over here and I receive 15 there. What am I getting out of that? It's worthless, right? Fuck no, it ain't worthless. I've done that before. I had a property that did that for over 15 years, right? What did I build? What did the tenants build for me? Equity. So now if you want to turn around and sell that house, right, that principal has been getting hit every month by them tenants. They're building me equity. RBE has 10 plus years of equity. Equity, even prior to 2018, 4 years of equity. That's why I can even proudly take all the losses that I've taken in those building years. I'm not the microwave guy. There's not enough people that are in their 20s thinking about their 40s. There's not enough people in their 30s thinking about their 40s and 50s. That's a minority of people. That's a minority of people. So let's say a battle rapper is pushing for a battle to happen on URL. That how many people are saying that about Mook and Hitman? And that's what Mook is pushing towards, right? What likeness are you going to own? What content are you going to own there? You battle on RBE, you battle on King of the Dot, you battle on URL, you battle on Chrome 23. These are platforms that are going to own your likeliness, just like Hip Hop Is Real, just like 15 Minutes of Fame, just like any other platform forever. Mook was actually doing it, man. He had his own podcast. There was ownership in it. I'm in the bigger picture portion of this right now for anybody that thinks this is about Mook. It's not at this point. How many times do y'all hear me talk about transitioning? How many times do y'all hear me talk about investing? How many times do y'all hear me talking about long term? Right? Picture a battle rapper being on a Mount Rushmore, right? And having no ownership in something that they may have been a part of building. You see how heavy that statement was that I just said? when I see Mook have a podcast, I want him to bring it back, right? When I see Goods sprawl off into colognes and sneak and gear, and he has his own store now, and he's got his channel. When I see Rosenberg and his brother and bros go off into media and running their own channel now and generating money for themselves and creating equity and content that could be lifelong. Even the bloggers have more ownership than 98% of these battle rappers. The bloggers actually even have more rights and media to some of these battle rappers liking this more than the battle rappers at like a 95% rate. Who else? Hitman, Bags and Bodies. So I mentioned Goods, I mentioned Hitman, I mentioned Rosenberg. Who else? Ruin Your Day. I think Ruin Your Day, the only equity that they have, I mean, actually the equity is coming in the channel. The only job that they do is directing and producing and shooting and making sure that we lead front these pay-per-views that we need done. You know how much Avocado's making money on his damn YouTube channel from the content that he shot and he produced, doing watches and reoccurring content? It's beautiful to see him. This is the work that you put in. But when you really have equity pays forward and it continues to build up. It's an asset. This is why you can take home equity loans. A bank will give you a loan against equity because it's looked at as an asset, as a plus. A YouTube channel, a store, a podcast, something that you own. I'm proud of battlers where I could look at it and be like, yo, he done told me the story. He done took these 3 checks in a row and he bought himself a house. Got something to show for it. That's so dope. I don't give a fuck about no fucking, you got followers on your Instagram and your Twitter, and you sign autographs and take pictures with people when you meet them or whatever. And people want to put cameras in your face. It makes you feel good when the lights and the cameras is on you doing interviews, and then they get, I don't give a fuck about that. When I talk about equity and ownership and going forward, right? The biggest battle rappers in the game need to own a piece of this shit. And they don't. I saw Shotgun Shook tweet the other day, like 3 or 4 of his classic battles. He's like, man, I really would like these battles on YouTube. They're behind somebody else's paywall. Somebody wants to, one of your fans or your friends or your family wants to see it, they got to go pay this other company to see it. That's great for them. That's smart for them. Me, I have 10 years worth of content on my channel. It's a whole library, whether I sell it, whether I pass it down to somebody else, whether I just get paid off of it at the top of it. It's ownership and equity. And you can't be talking about equity and ownership if you're not doing it. If you're not doing it. Likeliness. And that's why nobody wants to see the battle held up on possibly Bags and Bodies, because we're talking about likeliness. Because it's going to be the same thing on RBE, URL, King of the Dot, or Chrome, or Gates of the Gardens, or Bullpen, or Battle Academy. It's the same thing. They own all y'all niggas shit. All of it. Y'all want to see blogs like this and streams like this and start negotiating that shit, don't y'all? Some of y'all getting mad. You should, because you got nothing to show for all that we have given to battle rap. This ain't the first time you heard me talk like this before, right? Right? Is this the first time? Oh, DNA. DNA is another one. Shout out to DNA. I see Shine. Shine's, I believe, may have a situation alongside that Power Network. I want to get more details about that, but I believe so. Big K, I'm fucking dying for him to get back to his streaming. It's one of the most entertaining people ever, like on camera. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is real shit. This is real shit. Don't. I don't like Mook's messaging there to other battle rappers, because I think the support of ownership. Hitman and Mook ain't never gonna get along. But here's the bigger picture. If anybody thinks like me, Mook, it's actually more beneficial to the battle rappers to support. This ain't me sticking up for Hitman. This ain't. But it's actually more important for a battle rapper, no, to invest in another battle rapper's ownership than it is the people that got the channel whose content you're never gonna touch, like me or Rem, or behind a paywall on an app like URL. But you want to rush the battle to them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Get paid well. I hope so. But after that, what happens? When that money is spent from that battle, what happens? I can't bump into a lot of battle rappers that can show me $5,000 that they still have from a check that they made 5 years ago. I can show you $5,000 that I can make this month from a battle that I may have booked, or some battles that I may have booked 5 years ago, though. I can show you that, though. No? So I fuck bags and bodies. I agree. Then Murda Mook should then create your own platform then. Murda Mook don't want to do it, then do what Hitman and Geechee just did. Murda Mook, grab somebody else and bring them to your platform. To your platform. John interviewed me the other day. He's alluding to retirement for himself and to Bullpen after the Endgame card. If he doesn't book any more battles on the Bullpen channel, he's still got like 4, 5, 6 years of content that will continue to pay him forward. It's equity in his channel. It's a library and a catalog he could sell and do whatever the fuck he wants with. So let's not rush to shut down working on a battle rappers platform when y'all battle rappers, that's one of your tickets into ownership and into equity. Instead of running to 15 minutes of fame and giving them the 500,000 views, give it to yourself then. And this is why I say it's shocking to me, because don't talk about the ownership and then never do it. Don't talk about this high business IQ and never show it. I don't see battle rappers in general doing it, but everybody's going to tell me how business-minded they are. That's why a vulture could come in and make more money than all of y'all.